Welcome to White People, Black Music, and Liberation. I'm Eric, and I'm here on the journey with you. This is a transmission at the intersection of race, music, and spirituality. It's about moving past the programming and into liberation. So why do I want to be the only white person in the room? As usual, I'm speaking from my own experience. I'm not doing that to assume that my experience is yours. I'm doing that to encourage you to audit your own experience and see what may be beneath the surface. If you're like me at all, you may be a little bit surprised. And of course, this show is targeted to people who are white and white presenting, and especially people who love Black music. I've noticed a dynamic in myself that I want to name, and it's a kind of pride in being accepted by Black folks and a desire to be the only white person in Black spaces. And as I've worked with this a little bit deeper, I've really been surprised to see what I've found. And I think, as with most phenomenon, there are multiple things coexisting at once. So on the surface, this could be about just wanting connection, wanting belonging in a simple type of human way. And I think that's certainly part of it. And maybe as musicians, we could be especially wired to seek resonance with those who feel other, simply because a lot of us feel like the other existing in this society. And if I'm honest with myself, I do believe there's more to it than that. So I'm going to back up to move forward here. A turning point for me came during a Witnessing Whiteness seminar that I did with the folks at Aware LA. And they invited us into this exercise in which we looked at what our ancestors gave up to come to this country and to find belonging here. On my Arab side, going through this exercise, I realized that my family stopped speaking Arabic after immigrating. They also gave up other elements of their culture, spending time together, and other traditions in the name of assimilation. A big part of this, of course, is adapting to American capitalism, the pressure to survive. I think it really did a number on a lot of our cultural practices, like simply being together. And then on my white European side, I know even less, which is a very common phenomenon around whiteness. And that absence itself is pretty telling, but languages, food, stories. My father's ancestors came from Scandinavia. And in exchange for all that stuff, we got whiteness. And what we got was a culture that's so focused on a sliver of our material needs and meeting those. It's a culture that is really built around dominance and scarcity. And that creates a void because it only speaks to this really tiny sliver of human existence. And I remember growing up and feeling that void deeply. And I think that void I tried to fill with culture. First, I remember trying to fill that with my Arab roots. Then I remember going to Latinx culture, growing up in Riverside, that was really strong. And then eventually, I think, through diving into West African music. And I think that what I didn't understand back then was this: I was going into Black and brown spaces with a need to fill this void, but a lack of awareness. I didn't understand power dynamics, and I didn't understand reciprocity. So when I found myself wanting to be the white person in the room, or the white presenting person in the room, I wasn't really conscious of how society was offering me a very different set of privileges than the folks around me. I was taking from Black culture rhythms, community, food, but without any sense of reciprocity. In fact, I wouldn't have even acknowledged that my reciprocity was necessary. And I think that's really the root of the issue. I don't think it's wrong to want to be in Black spaces. I don't think it's wrong to love Black music. I certainly do. And I don't even think it's wrong to want to feel a sense of belonging there. But what is incomplete is when I do that without any sense of giving back. And I credit an African American woman that I once dated for breaking me open to this by continually asking me how I was going to give back. And I'll be honest, it took me a long time of listening to that question before I really understood on a somatic level what she was talking about. It took me a while to see the asymmetry. It took me a while to see how I was taking without giving back. And, another thing that I've noticed in my experiences is that Black culture is very generous, and folks will generously share with me when I come into spaces with respect and humility, and I might even be embraced. But I think for me as a white or a white presenting person, it's about more than just respect. It's about reciprocity. And for that, I need to ask some really deep questions. How am I giving back to this culture that gives so much to me? How am I using my platform, my resources, my access to certain things to create opportunities for other folks? And how am I disrupting the systems that give me more access to liberation than they give others? I don't have answers to these questions. And if anybody does tell you that they have the answers to all these questions, I think you should be skeptical. Simply continuing to remain in the tension of the questions is a kind of practice. And that tension, I think, is what inspires transformation, because it's the tension that inspires me to come to some imperfect answer to those questions in the form of aligned action and transformation at any given moment. So to sum this up, it's not wrong to want to be the only white person in the room. It's not wrong to want to be accepted by other people. It's not wrong to want to be accepted by Black folks and by Black culture. And when I'm not taking responsibility for my end of that, which is my reciprocity, then that's when I am sustaining the ongoing order of injustice, the ongoing order of a system that makes liberation more accessible for some than for others. If I do want a system where liberation is truly available to everyone, then I need to take aligned action to disrupt that system. And by continually asking these questions, how am I giving back? How am I using my access? I believe that will inspire the transformation that fuels the aligned action that will temporarily give you answers to those questions. Okay, that's enough for now. Take care, everyone. See you at the next one. I'm Eric, and this has been White People, Black Music, and Liberation. If this message speaks to you and you want to be part of the journey, head to whitepeopleblackmusic.com and let's build a world where liberation is for everyone.